Hi, everyone, and welcome to this second episode of the Sam Gaskell podcast with me, Andy, and obviously Sam is there as well. It's been a busy couple of weeks. We've been practicing and racing hard online. We've been entering a few Williams Gaming Club events, and we've also now started the season off in real life with Global Karting League Oakley last weekend. So what we thought we'd do is just chat through some of what we've been up to the last couple of weeks, show you some highlights on the screen, show you some pictures as well, and describe how it's been going. So, Sam, we had a busy couple of weeks. You've been working hard since the new year on low fuel motorsport and bringing up your um, Elo rating. Um, what's been the highlights so far of that? And I know you've had a few struggles as well. So maybe just describe the ups and downs of sim racing and actually the need to just be quite chill about it in some ways because it can be
Yeah.
quite frustrating, can't it?
Yeah, I think the definite highlight is get the 5K after all the hard work. And ever since I got the 5K, it's then just been unlucky in races. I think the week I lost the most Elo was, I think, Barcelona. It was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I've just been taking a break recently because of just incidents and losing Elo. Getting very angry because I had to practice for the first round of the Winter Cup, the Williams Winter Cup. And yeah, I just was not in it at the time. So
And it's probably just worth saying, what kind of incidents were these? In your words, getting punted off quite a bit. It happens, doesn't it? But it just seemed like you had a run of quite a few races in a row where something happened. Not necessarily, of your doing. It's probably just worth touching on that in terms of how do you cope with that, those setbacks and frustrations. How do you find when that happens, and you put all that effort into practicing for a race, and then turn one madness kicks in. That seems like something from my perspective that happens quite a lot in sim racing. How
yeah.
do you mentally deal with that?
Well, definitely in the first 5 minutes, it's a lot of screaming and shouting from anger. But I think once you cool down and you get your head down, you can usually calm down pretty easily. But like you said, with the incidents, it's always usually turn one, which is especially at Barcelona, like I said last week or a couple of weeks ago for practicing for WGC. It was yeah, turn one was quite rough. I think 3 races in a row I had an incident at turn one. And I was so annoyed at that time because it was always the same people or stupid incidents that weren't my fault or even were. Um, but usually they're racing incidents, and yeah, is what it
And
is.
for people who maybe don't sim race or maybe don't follow it as closely or understand um, maybe some of the difficulties of sim racing in terms of your all-round view around the car or understanding where your car is in relation to other people, just explain how in certainly on the platforms you race on, how you can tell where other cars are, how you have that spatial awareness, and where sometimes where some of the blind spots are, and why sometimes it is just one of those things where contact happens because people don't see each other.
Yeah. I think definitely, well, it's something to do with racecraft as well as experience and driving that car specifically. Sometimes you can be, or I found it with myself, if you're not as good at controlling a car, like let's say the Porsche compared to the Mercedes is quite understeery and quite easy to control compared to the Porsche where it's rear engine and the rear wants to go all the time. So sometimes racing side by side can be a bit tricky in some other cars that you're maybe not as comfortable in. And like you said with close racing, is that we have a radar on screen, or an ACC at least you do, which does help a lot of the time, and it can cause for some really good racing, or even touching the limits and ending up pushing the person off. But yeah, it just comes with experience, really.
Yeah, and I suppose as well, if you want to be up the front and pushing it, and like you say, racing hard, there's a probably a reality that actually, some of that's going to come off, and sometimes it just isn't, and that is, kind of racing. I mean, I remember going back to sort of indoor karting, and that whole sort of, you know, being halfway alongside, and then you kind of got, giving people racing room or whatever the phrase
Yeah.
is. that seems like from watching some of your sim racing that some people are really good at that, and maybe other people probably because it's sim racing
Yeah,
because there's no
yeah.
consequence other than you can press
Just full send
restart,
it.
no one's
Yeah,
going to get hurt. People just throw it up the inside, in the vain hope it's going to stick. Whereas in real life, you just wouldn't do that because A, it would hurt, and B, it'd be
yeah,
expensive.
yeah. Very expensive, especially with the wall
Yeah,
as
so
well.
yeah, so I suppose moving on from that, you kind of taking a break off LFM a little bit in terms of the daily races, and you've told me before there's kind of a couple of options for them. So, in terms of the length of the races, tell us a little bit about how you view the options to race, and I think you've told me before that you'd rather do sort of 45-minute races than the 25-minute races, and what's your thinking behind that, and choosing the right tracks. So some weeks to sort of work hard on, other times taking a break.
Yeah. Yeah, usually I prefer 45-minute races purely because they're longer. You can get into more of a flow, especially if it's around Imola or something, which is my favorite track in the game. One I'm very quick at as well. But yeah, some tracks you just enjoy driving more. So let's say if you don't like the track, maybe 25 minutes, don't have to drive the track much. You don't gain as much elo. You only gain like I think I think multiplier is 0.8. So yeah, and then with the 45-minute ones, you gain I think 1.7 times as much on the multiplier, and yeah, so you gain more elo for the 45s and less for the 25s. But obviously, it comes down to preference. Like with me, I usually enjoy the 45 minutes, like I said, because of the length, and you can get into more of a flow. Um, but when you're trying to grind elo, it's definitely I think better to do the 45s. But yeah, 25s, you can do them over and over and over and over without necessarily getting tired. Where the 45 minutes are more of a chilled, more of a hot lap situation, unless you've got somebody right up your diffuser and you can't do anything about it. So yeah,
That's a phrase to coin, is it? Somebody write up your diffuser.
yeah,
I like that. And I suppose just for reference, and I know you're kind of just starting out really with your YouTube hot laps, but people should know that you upload them, don't you, to YouTube, Sam Gaskell Racing. Um, and I suppose the view in the future is to do some streaming and maybe
yeah,
some voice overlays over those hot laps. But you know, um, don't take my word for it, everyone. Go and check that out on YouTube. Um, Sam's times are relatively quick. I mean, just give us an indication of, some of the lap times that you've done and where they sit in the kind of grand scheme of things. You'll probably have to explain things like BOP, but
yeah.
where
Well,
where are you at with some of the lap times?
I'll get the confusing bit out of the way. Is that the BOP or balance of power is basically weight taken away or added to a car to make it slower or quicker, just to make the cars more equal and fair amongst all the competitors. But yeah, with the lap times time of things, I think my best, like I said, my best track is probably Imola. I think my best is a 39.5, which is in the Porsche, only I think 2 tenths off like the Porsche record, or might be 4 tenths, close enough. But yeah, on some other tracks I'm a little bit slower, and then some others I'm quicker. Like Silverstone, I think my best are 56.7, and then LFM balance of power it's 56.8. But yeah, that's just a reference. So
And just on that, and of course you've got your hot laps on there. And if you were someone watching your hot laps, and I know you do this to sort of improve your own skills, um, you know, how can someone watch your videos and convert that into improving themselves? What would you point out to watch? I know you do it for other sim racers, and that's how you learn to be quick. Obviously, you've then got to turn that into something practical. But what are you looking for, and how can people get the benefit of watching your hot lap and maybe apply it to their own racing?
the bit I pay most attention to is the mid corner speed, or how much speed you carry through the corner, and on braking and how early you get on power. Usually, this comes with obviously practice and time, and usually aligns as well most of the time. Because you can obviously just chuck it through the corner and carry like 10 kilometers more than what esports guys are doing, but it won't necessarily mean you're quicker because you're scrubbing all the speed on the exit and maybe on the entry. But of course, with the hot laps, there are very small things you have to focus on, like where to brake, for example, where to get on power. If you get on power in the wrong places, you'll go wide, you'll invalidate. If you get on the brake too early, you'll be too slow for the corner. Brake too late, you'll miss the corner. All these small things can lead up to a massive mistake or even the perfect lap time, depending on how you manage it and how you do. So yeah.
That probably brings us on to then probably talking about sort of racing, and obviously, you talked about LFM races, but recently you've joined the Williams Gaming Club, an online community, which is essentially a fun community. There is racing, and I think the racing is pretty competitive actually, from what I've seen. But it's a nice environment. You've entered a few races, and the first one, really the first one you entered, the big one was the Suzuka 6 hour,
Yeah.
which was quite literally an absolute marathon. Do you want to talk us through before we maybe show a video over the back of this, just to give an indication of kind of size of the grid, which is pretty outrageous.
70 odd
Just
cars,
talk
I
us
think.
through yeah, 71 I think it was. Do you just give an overview of the format of the race? How you worked maybe with a teammate, and how it all works together, and how you enrolled for it, and how people can get involved in the Williams Gaming Club in general. Just give an indication of how easy it is if you click on the right buttons and join the right servers, how you can be in the midst of a 71 car sim race.
Yeah.
Um,
The place you can find is on the Discord it's on Twitch, Williams Esports Twitch. Usually, if you type in on the chat !Discord, it will come up with the links. I'm pretty sure I have to be a follower to actually chat in that Twitch. But yeah, that's how you join. And they have a bunch of like for different games: F1, Rally, ACC. I'm pretty sure they might have an AC one as well. I think they have Rocket League as well as that. But they have little tabs where you can sign up for races like the 6 hour or Williams Winter Cup and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they've done an F1 Winter Cup now. They're starting to do this year. But yeah, the 6 hour was definitely quite interesting. Like in quali, the pace was pretty solid. I think I got pole by 2/10 against some really quick drivers, Ilya Manzenko and can't remember the other guy, like Wolf Gruber or something like that, who was teammates with Marco Shorkop, who is one of the top guys in LFM. And yeah, this is the formation lap coming towards the
yeah, it's
start.
formation lap, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this
You're
is
driving the
71
Mercedes.
car. Yeah,
Yeah.
71 cars. And you obviously, like you say, qualified P1.
P1.
So
Yeah.
there you are in the Mercedes, the white Mercedes at the top of the tree. And just on the beginning of this race, just talk us through what was going through your mind at the beginning of this. Sitting on like you say, at the top of the shop there, 6 hours of racing between you and your teammate
Mm.
ahead of you. What were you thinking here as you pulled away, and talk us through this kind of beginning
I
of the
think
race?
in the Mercedes, you have to save tires. So for the whole of the first stint, well, the whole of the race, really, even every stint, it was just save the tires because the Mercedes ruins its rear tires at Suzuka, and the McLaren obviously doesn't, and so does the BMW and all these other cars. So at the start, I needed to get a good reaction, get away from Christopher in P2 and Ilya in P3, and just kept it safe. So I didn't want to challenge too hard. If he did overtake me, I would have let him gone and tried to keep with him. But luckily, I stayed in P1 and managed to run away. Pace was really strong, really, really strong in the race. Unfortunately, in stint two with my teammate, I can't pronounce his name. It's too hard because I'm English. He's Dutch. It's quite a confusing name as well. But we were both really, really quick on pace in this car. Found a good setup as well. But yeah, we had an incident in stint two, which I'm sure you guys have seen on the Instagram. Unlucky. Can't do much about it. We had to pit offset to what the usual pit strategy was. And that means when I think 13 minutes to the end, I had to do another pit stop because of driver stint, not even fuel or tires. And yeah, over the whole stint, I think I had to do a triple stint in the end. It was 1 hour. So I think it was 2.5 hours in total of saving tires and trying to catch the guys in front. There were a few incidents, like we got a DT, I think, only one DT, and I got a 15-second penalty for spinning a guy around, which is unfortunate. It's a bit of a skill issue from me. But apart from that, it was a good race. A lot of experience from it. Very fun. I'd highly recommend it because it was quite competitive as well. And yeah, start was carnage as well. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but yeah.
Yeah, so in the end, you guys ended up, I think, fifth. Is that right? I can't remember.
Yes,
Um,
fifth, yeah, with penalties.
so not bad for a first race. And just give us an insight into how you know 6 hours of certainly concentration, probably for you, probably four
And
hours plus
complaining.
of actual driving. How much? How did that affect you, like mentally and physically, for the next few days? It was pretty crazy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it being my first endurance race, really, I was quite annoyed at the fact we got taken out in the second stint. Not my teammates' fault at all. Just one of the back markers. Oh, I'm pretty sure it was in dead last at the time. Just spun out, spun left, and straight into us. And like I said, we have to offset, and it lost us so much time. I think we were like 20 seconds behind. I think it was who was that? I think it was 20 seconds behind P3 at that time. After the pit stops, and yeah, we were provisionally P2 for quite a lot of it after the pit stops, but then obviously that driver stint lost us quite a lot of time and positions. So yeah, here's what it is. Big learning curve, but yeah, see how it goes next time in the future.
And then we moved on to the Williams Gaming Club Winter Cup, which is a multi-round series that they're running on Monday nights. Looks like a pretty good, strong field, good variety of pretty multinational field as well. So how did you get invited to that, and how did you find yourself in the Gold Championship? How did that all work out?
Yeah, like I said earlier, with the Discord, they have obviously different tabs, and there was a ACC Winter Cup, which is the second season at the moment. There was already one they did last year, which I did watch a bit of. It was actually really good, really competitive. And yeah, they're doing it's basically a 5 round championship. I think this calendar is Barcelona round one, Messana round two, Nürburgring round three, and then it's Zolder round four and Donington Park round five. So it's a pretty mixed calendar. I think I'm in the Porsche at the moment, so hopefully it's okay around those tracks. There's no balance of power, so whatever the game thinks the car is quick, then yeah, whoever's driving that car will be very happy. But yeah,
So the first round was at Barcelona, as you say. And just talk us through your kind of qualifying and pace, and how that race panned out. What we'll do is, whilst you're chatting, we'll share a bit of a video of some of the close racing that was occurring during that round.
yeah. Qualifying was alright. Was a bit off the pace, about 2 tenths off the pace compared to the Ferrari of Harry Conway, who was very quick. To be fair, got a bit unlucky in the race start with a bit of contact with me and one of the other Ferraris. And me and Felix, who is one of the Williams Esports Academy drivers, who's also competing at the moment, was in a Nissan, and me and him had absolute rocket starts. We went from, I think he was in P5, I was in P4 in qualifying, and we both, like I said, had rocket starts. That Nissan in a straight line it's slow off the accelerator, but once it gets up to speed, it's an absolute monster. And he literally on the first corner broke super late, did all of us around the outside, and I just had to follow in and tuck in. And like I said, made a bit of contact with Harry, yeah, who I think had a bit of an incident after and went off. I think he finished. Can't remember where he finished. I think it was just outside the top 10 in the end. And yeah, I think at that point I had Andrei Porshkov behind me, who was another person. I think he started P3, if I'm not wrong. Very quick. Obviously, the Ferrari and Barcelona is known to be a rocket at the moment with Gunnar and yeah, went good. Race, I finished P2, starting from P4. Obviously, Felix won as well. Throughout the first half of the race, I was on his bumper with Andre right behind me as well. So just the three of us running
It's
away.
probably just worth let's just see a little bit of that now, and it's only a short clip, but it gives you an idea of the kind of closeness to the racing. So here we are now. This is you, and just following him through some of these sort of sweeping right and left handers.
Yeah.
Uh, the commentator was certainly enjoying this as well. So yeah, no, it was a good battle, and actually for those watching on the Twitch stream, because it's worth saying that this is streamed as well, and with
Yeah.
a commentator, and there's people in the chat, and friends and family are, it's actually a really good, entertaining couple of hours, isn't it, in terms of
Yeah.
the content creation as well. And obviously, you're getting that perspective as being a driver and going through the practice and the qualifying and then thing. But actually, it's quite fun to watch.
Yeah.
So actually, people should tune in. And what's the kind of times that the races are on a Monday nights?
So I think practice starts at, I think it was what, 6 p.m. So hour of practice, and then qualifying starts at 7 to half 7 to 25 minutes with a 5 minute break at the end before the race. And then the race obviously starts at 7:30 for an hour until obviously 8:30. And yeah, in that hour, it's just focusing on finish the best you can. There is success ballast in the championship, so I think the top five get ballast. P1 gets 25, P2 gets 20, P3 gets 15, P4 gets 10, and then I think P5 gets 5. And yeah, anywhere below that, and obviously that's class, not overall. So there's gold, silver, bronze, and rookie. So 4 classes each. The top 5 of each class get success ballast, which I think is a bit weird. In my opinion, I don't like it. But obviously, for those who maybe prefer it, then yeah. But
I suppose it tries to make the racing closer by
yeah.
those who maybe have a little bit more, dare I say it, natural pace. It kind
Mm,
of keeps it close and competitive. And I suppose that's again, it goes back to the idea of the Williams Gaming Club. I think from my perspective, sorry, watching it, which is it is supposed to be fun and kind of, it's
community
not like,
event.
yeah, it's not supposed to be just for,
Mm,
super serious racing. Although, like I say, having watched it, two weeks on the bounce now, the standard is really high. People do take it seriously. And actually, you know, the fact that it took 4 or 5 days for all the review process to happen, for all the sort of results to be ratified, just shows you that the people do take it seriously, and more importantly, the organisers, do it properly as well. So it's a really good thing to be part of.
mm.
So that was the first race at Barcelona. You know, came P2, is that right?
P2, yeah.
And then we moved on just this Monday gone to race at, I'm going to say Zolder, but I'm probably getting it wrong.
No,
Misano, is it?
Masano,
Misano.
yeah.
So tell us about Misano. Tell us about qualifying again, and again, there's some footage on your Instagram profile of that, and then tell us about the race and how that panned out. Um,
Mm.
because it was a sort of tale of two halves, really, from a
Yeah, a bit
spectator's point of
unlucky.
view.
Yeah, qualifying was really good. Pace was really good. I did have a bit of time left in my qualifying run, but I wanted to stay safe because I was 10.5 off. I was P6. Everybody was really close. Charlie Booth was super quick. Stefan Troneski was super quick, both in a Lambo and a Ferrari. And I tried to stay safe in the last sector. Had about 10.5 in it. I did a 0.5 in the end, just getting pole by 100th. And yeah, I could have gotten a 0.3 after getting a 0.5, but I was like, oh, I'm just happy with that. And the commentator went absolutely ballistic as well from it. And with fans in the
Thing is,
chat as well, they were
I was
counting
going
on
to
it.
say it probably helped that a certain Arthur Langley was chomping away there in the chat, predicting the outcome and the fact that you delivered that with about a minute and a half to go in qualifying, probably, what was timely, shall we say? So that was
Yeah.
all good fun. And so that was the qualifying. You set up on the top of the grid, and just tell us a little bit about how the race went, um, first couple of laps, and then kind of around the lap 11, lap 12 mark.
Yeah.
Um, all of it changed. So yeah, give
Yeah.
us an insight into what happened and how you then had to manage that throughout the rest of the race.
Yeah. So starting from P1, I just wanted to get away because I knew the guys behind me would probably keep up, but I was hoping they'd fight. So if I get away as quick as I can, stay consistent, create a gap, then I knew it'd be all right. The problem is, it was I don't think it was quite cold enough, but if it, I think, yeah, I think it was a couple degrees over. But if it was any colder, the front tires on the Porsche would start graining, which would then mean my consistency and my pace would then drop off quite considerably, which would have saved everybody because everybody behind me had basically no tire wear compared to me, and I had to try and just make a gap. I think in the end I think it was a 2 or 3 second gap almost. But then, like Dad said, on lap 11 or 12, I had an incident with a back marker who was trying to get out of the way, but I think it was what? I think it was turn 7 or turn 6 or 7.
It was the final turn
Um,
before the home straight.
yeah, there's no, yeah, it was. I think it was turn 6 after the first sec there. Basically, back marker went off, tried to rejoin, and neither of us could see each other because of the blind spot in the car. And I was going so quick at that point out of the corner, and he was coming onto the track. We both ended up just not being able to see each other because of the blind spot, and just took each other out. It's racing incident. He apologized to me after, realized what he'd done wrong, and I said, "Mate, it's just racing. Like, there's nothing I could have done about it." I still finished. I think what was it, P6 in the end, which isn't too bad. I think second in the championship at the moment, by 1 point, and yeah, hopefully next round in Nurburgring, I'm not gonna have any success ballast, so it should go well. My pace is looking strong, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, and that's next Monday.
Yeah.
Monday in Nürburgring. Should be a great race.
Night
Tune
race, I
in,
think, almost.
yeah, or sort of evening race. Tune in on the Williams Esports Twitch channel from like you say, just after 7 p.m. They normally sort of tune into the qualifying. You'll hear the kind of preamble and then the race from 7:30, and you obviously can watch it back by going having a look. So yeah, definitely check it out. And then let's move it finally into real life racing and back onto karting. Bit of time out of the seat, but first time this year out in the real world, outdoors at Whilton Mill. First visit there with Global Karting League UK in their winter O plate, racing in the junior category. So give us a bit of background into Global Karting League, what we did last year and now taking it forward into this year with the National Championship and what your aspirations are with that and tell us a bit about the karts, tell us a bit about, what you're hoping to achieve with the real life racing this year.
Yeah. So, obviously, like you heard, this year I'm doing GKL, which is a Global Karting League, which was Total Karting Zero, as I'm sure some of you have heard. It's basically, yeah, it's electric road tire. It's a little bit slower, but yeah, obviously, O Plate was at Whilton Mill, quite fun. Struggled a little bit for pace at the start because it was quite weird conditions, to be honest. And obviously, I hadn't been in a kart for a month, or even in these karts for 2 3 months. Because the previous year, I think it was around, what was it, October, September area. We were at Shennington with GKL, which was then Total Karting Zero, for a test day in the AM sessions, which I thought, honestly, enjoyed it so much. I was like, I have to do this next year because obviously good exposure, but also it's just, yeah, the community is really top class. Honestly, like the people running it, the mechanics, all these, like the engineers, they're all really nice people, and I highly recommend it if you're below the age of 16, I think it is the most, or
Yeah, I think
17,
you go
one
all
of
the
the
way to
two.
17 actually. Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think it's from all the way from um, as they're calling it this year, cadet light, all the way
yeah,
through to cadet, your junior light, your junior sort of class. Really accessible, like you say, a real focus, certainly from a, I dare I say, it, a parent's perspective, a focus on learning karting, the good way. There's lots of development days. They've got a new structure in place now where there's kind of a test days, there's a rookie championship, as well as then, when you progress to, if you like, being signed off or being seen as, progressing enough to then race in sort of the national championship. And that's obviously what you're going to be doing this year,
yeah,
racing, I think, all 9 rounds, um, going to all the kind of, well-known karting tracks around the United Kingdom. But
yeah.
this weekend just gone at Whilton Mill. Just talk us through the sessions you did, how they went. You obviously talked about the first session in the morning practice, but
Yeah,
your qualifying and then pre-final, final, and how it went and what you learned from the weekend and what you can take forward going into the first round of the championship, which is back at Shennington in early March.
yeah. Yeah, qualifying was good. Obviously, quite an early start. I think when I qualified, I think it was P6. It was quite weird conditions. Obviously, there was two classes. There was junior light and junior. Both ran in the same session. So I think I was P3 out of 6 juniors, or junior heavies, if you want to call it that. I was P6 or P3, sorry, out of the juniors, and P6 overall, out of I think eight drivers. Pace was a bit off towards the start because obviously, like I said, tricking conditions. It was kind of greasy. You had to brake offline quite a bit. Car wouldn't slow down, obviously, 'cause there's no grip. Carrying quite a lot of speed into the corners, so obviously struggling to get the kart rotated. You have to take very wide lines, like usual wet lines. And I noticed with this track, in the wet, it's got a lot less grip than a lot of other tracks, in my opinion. I don't know why, but I just felt that. Maybe that's just my driving and me being terrible, but yeah, interesting.
And in terms of the carts, just talk about maybe not so much the handling, but you talked about the really good staff and the mechanics there.
Mm,
You had something that you felt wasn't quite right with the cart in one of your sessions. I think
yeah,
you felt that the power was dropping off, which may have been something to do with the batteries or whatever. Just explain to people who maybe haven't seen how the team operate the carts. Um, how receptive they are to comments from the drivers and how they feed back to you. It feels very professional in the way that
yeah,
they kind of run this and try and set the carts up for you and take note of any feedback they get from the drivers as well.
yeah. Yeah, the staff and the mechanics, like my dad said, they like to listen in a lot. They're very intrigued in what you have to say about the carts and how they handle and how you feel about them. Obviously, if there's any problems, and they love to hear the problems, obviously, because they want to fix the carts. But yeah, there was, I think, yeah, basically I think the battery was dying off towards the end a lot more than other carts. And I spoke to Sammy, the engineer, he's a power engineer, and he did notice a difference that apparently the engine was just dying off there into the race, and yeah, he got it fixed, and I'm pretty sure Kart 4 was one of the quicker ones after that. But or Kart 12, I think it was, if I'm not
It's good. And
mistaken.
then in the final race of the day, boded well for potentially a podium finish.
Yeah,
But then there was a sort of incident in turn one, and again, just talk us through that, and more importantly, maybe how you recovered from that and carried on because a tough watch, but I think you can be proud of yourself for sort of soldiering on, if that's the right word,
yeah.
and completing the day. But yeah, give us an insight into what happened and kind of what you can take from that going forward.
Yeah, I think it was either lap 1 or 2. We were going into turn 1, had the junior lights in front. I'll mention this now. So basically, junior lights start that their group or their weight category starts in front with with a one row gap to the junior heavies. So basically, all the junior lights be in front, and then the junior heavies behind. And it was a standing start, it's not a rolling start. And yeah, going to turn one, I think somebody was trying to avoid an incident with somebody else and basically spun on the brakes. I think it was turn two, and pretty much if I went right, I would have taken out Bobby McGurry, BIKC. He won BIKC in juniors, or go left and smash the wall, or even go straight and hit and smash into the guy. But yeah, my first instinct was just go left and dodge. Later, then realised there's a wall right in front of me, and I was going into it full speed, and then smashed the wall, did a couple 360s, and then got going about 30 seconds later. Hurt my hand quite a bit. I was definitely paining afterwards, but yeah, soldiered on to the race. Pace was really good, considering I had I think I bent the steering column and the rear axle was a little bit bent, but yeah. Oh
Well, I
well.
think this photograph probably sums it up, which was coming off disappointed, but there you go. Such is the sort of lad and dad karting
Yeah,
experience, where it's up to the parent to kind of be uh, that figure in those moments after saying, "Look, it'll be okay, it's fine, you know, good effort and all the rest of it," and probably loads of people can relate to that. So, heck, we've covered a lot in this podcast. It's been really good to chat, Sam.
yeah,
We'll fill people in again in a couple of weeks' time on your exploits at the Nürburgring,
yeah,
and then probably do one either just before or just after the Sheddington
yeah.
round of GKL. But in the meantime, if you want to follow more what Sam's up to, head over to his social media areas. You can go on Instagram, you can, the YouTube. On the Instagram, there's a link tree to a whole load of other links. Sam's also on LinkedIn now. So, yep, follow us, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Cool.
Bye for now.
Bye bye.